Hi everyone, I'm Karla Selp. Welcome to Oli Grown. As you can see, I'm sitting on my couch in the middle of my living room. And what do you do on your couch in their living room in the middle of the winter? You look at seed catalogs, or at least that's what I do, and pick out the different things that you are dreaming of growing the next year. So I thought I would take you on a little journey through my seed box today. I'm going to show you the types of things that I'm hoping to grow this year or have tried before, and it might spark some ideas of something that you could grow here in Olympia. Another one of my favorites, if you like tomatillos, I highly recommend this Tomatillo Grande Rio Verde. The nice thing about this is that the tomatillos are pretty large. They're kind of like the size of small apples, and that to me is a major plus because I've grown other tomatillos that are really small and it takes a ton of them to do anything with it. Plus, I don't want to pick that many tomatillos. So these are super productive, and as long as you keep picking them, they'll keep putting out more and more tomatillos. So I've usually had 2, 3, 4 big pickings off of my tomatillo plants, and didn't grow any last year because I still have salsa verde from them the year before, and I still have that salsa verde. That's how productive these plants can be. So this one I definitely recommend, Tomatillo Grande Rio Verde. March is also a good time to get some lettuce started. This one I grew for the first time last year. This is Landis Winter lettuce. This one I would grow early spring or as a good winter lettuce to grow over winter. So those are good options. Now this I bought because of the name of the flower. I've never heard of it before, but it's called salpiglosis, and I probably just butchered that name, but oh well. It is actually a beautiful flower. I bought it because my last name is Salp, and this was salpiglosis. So it was totally self-centered reasons for buying this, but I'm glad I did because it's a gorgeous flower. The petals look kind of velvety. They're almost like velvet, and they're absolutely gorgeous. So if you have some room in your garden for some salpiglosis or whatever these are called, Salpiglosis. Pronouncing Latin is not my strong suit. If you have room, I would give those a try. They're absolutely gorgeous. Here's another mix of lettuce. This one was another thank you packet. You'll have to get those. Here's okra, a burgundy okra, where the pods are a purple color. Now, I tried growing okra a couple of years ago. The starts are really pretty. They're very unique. I love them, but I had trouble getting them transplanted. I don't know if I didn't transplant them and it was too cold outside, or I wasn't gentle enough with transplanting them. I had a hard time getting them started. So that is something I might have to try again. We'll see. Hard to keep all these apart. Oh yes, Chinese multicolored spinach. This is not a true spinach that we're familiar with in the US, but it is a type of spinach that does better when it gets warmer, which if you've ever grown spinach, even in Olympia, as soon as it gets warm, it bolts. So I've struggled to grow traditional spinach because by the time it finally gets going, it warms up and bolts. And so I'm probably doing something wrong, but this might be another option if you're looking for something else to try. It's also known as amaranth. So it's a really pretty, you might have seen it in the store actually. You can buy it as a seed. Coneflower, also known as echinacea, green twister. This one is absolutely gorgeous, and if I could ever get it to grow, that would be fantastic. I must be doing something wrong with echinacea because I never have good luck getting echinacea seeds started. If anybody has a tip for me on how to grow echinacea from seed really well, let me know because I'm clearly doing something wrong. Basil, this is a blend of different types of basil, and here's a note about buying seeds that are blended together. There's pluses and minuses. With one packet of seed, I can grow a bunch of different types of basil, for example, which is great. I don't have to buy 4 different packets of seed just to get a few different plants of different types of basil. On the other hand, you never know what you're going to get. So you may have, 3/4 of one type of basil from what you pick out to plant, and only 1 or 2 of the other types of basil. So there's pluses and minuses to buying these sort of blended packets of seeds. But I enjoyed really all the different types of basil that were in this seed packet. Here's another type of okra that I grew or tried to grow unsuccessfully. This is another free little packet of seeds that I got, a pak choi. It's a small one. It's an AAS winner, and it grew well for me, so I'll probably grow that again. This is a flower called Pink Sunday Sage, and I love this. It adds just some beautiful whimsy to the garden. I've never grown it before. I have a feeling I'm going to have lots of it this year though because it all went to seed. But it puts out these sort of like spikes of foliage like this, and they're all tipped with pink. And it's just gorgeous. I had one actually come up purple. So there's also a purple Sunday sage or something like that somewhere because it got in my seed packet. But they were both, I love them. I kind of had them planted around my tomatoes just for fun. And they grew, they grew really well. I would definitely do that again because it's beautiful. I didn't eat it or anything. I didn't even try the flavor to see if it would be something worth eating. Here is flashy butter gem lettuce. I planted a bunch of different lettuces last year. That's one of the things that grows really well here in Olympia is lettuce and greens. So this is just one of the varieties. It has, they're kind of a green leaf streaked with red, and it did pretty well here, so I would grow that one again. There's a bunch of packages. I took a trip to the south, and I was absolutely fascinated by the cotton, so I bought a bunch of cotton to try and grow, even though this is totally not the environment for cotton. And I got it to start, but it really struggled. So I don't know if I waited too long to transplant it or if it was too cold outside when I did transplant it, but it definitely struggled. So cotton is only for the very adventurous and those that are willing and open to failure. So I'd love to grow some of that though, because one of those is a green cotton. I didn't know cotton could be actually naturally green, so I would love to grow that. If I ever move to the south, I'm growing some cotton, because not only do you get the very cool cotton bowls, but the flowers are just beautiful too. And there's these really unique different types of cotton that you don't think about. Okay, Simpson Elite. I know this is lettuce, but it came from Tomato Grower Supply. But I don't think I can get this from Baker Creek. This put out some huge heads of lettuce. I mean, it was huge. This was very prolific and an excellent lettuce, in my opinion. We really enjoyed this one, Simpson Elite. It put out huge heads, and they were still flavorful. I posted a picture of this huge head of lettuce and myself holding it, and somebody said, "Oh, it's not going to taste any good anymore." Tasted just fine to me. So tastes good even when really big. So I recommend it. Another one I recommend, this one is Devil's Ear lettuce. It puts up these sort of like narrow, Devil's Ear. I think it's also known as Devil's Tongue. But it puts out these really sort of narrow leaves that have kind of a bronzish color that it gets, and it was, again, very prolific. I could just pick the leaves from around the edge, and then add them to the salad or whatever you're making. And this was really, really good. So I would definitely recommend devil's ear lettuce. Oh, I have so many seeds. They're falling all over my lap. Zinnia. This one was a lime orange zinnia. Again, a free one that I won online. So yeah, look for those free seed options. You'll get to try some new things. This one was a very pretty zinnia flower. This one I grew bok choy for the first time at all last year, but this purple lady one, I really like it. It has this beautiful purple leaf to it that you don't normally get in a bok or a bok choy. And so I would definitely grow that one again. Chinese pink celery. Yes, it is pink. It tastes like celery. The only downside is that the stalks were not as thick as your typical celery, but it grew pretty well here. So I would recommend the Chinese pink celery if you like something a little bit new and different. That is an excellent option. Kale scarlet. This, my husband, as I think I've probably mentioned before, loves kale. So one of the things I grow a lot of is kale. One that I tried this year was the scarlet kale. It's a purple kale and it grew really well. It's continuing to grow out there. I planted it last year and it's still growing. So another good choice is the scarlet kale. And the traditional, this is really sort of your classic kale, the blue curled Scotch kale. I've tried a few different varieties, but I've really had the best luck with this blue curled Scotch kale. The only downside to this one is the leaves are so curly that we have a lot of fir trees around here, and the needles come down and they get stuck in the little curlies of the kale. So that's a negative, but otherwise this is a really solid kale. Okay, this was another new one for me last year. Mixed orach. It's basically different colors of orach, and I had about 3 different colors. There was sort of a deeper green one, a lighter green one, and then there's actually 4 different colors. And then there was a sort of orangish red one, and then this deep, beautiful burgundy. They were all beautiful. One note, they grow like 6 feet tall. This is sort of a greens alternative, and I thought it was good. My husband and I both enjoyed it. We put it in salads, or you can also cook it up like greens. It will put out a ton of seed, so if you don't want it to go to seed, which I don't recommend unless you want to have it everywhere, pull it out before it actually starts producing seed. But the greens, the leaves on it were really good, and it was beautiful. So I highly recommend this green as an addition to your greens that you eat. Here's a free thing of bee balm, lemon bee balm. I haven't grown it yet, but maybe that'll make it into the garden this year. As the name implies, bees really love bee balm. So if you're trying to plant something for pollinators, this might be a good option for you. Merlot lettuce, another excellent lettuce selection. Really dark leaves. We like to grow different colors, so our salads look interesting and provide different nutrition for different types of leaves. And so this one is supposedly one of the darkest red leaf lettuce that you can purchase. And we really enjoyed this one. Lettuce, the Merlot lettuce, that's a great one to add some variety. And who doesn't love the spring sugar snap peas? To me, sugar snap peas, well, I was going to say they're the only ones worth growing. That's probably an overstatement. I love the sugar snap peas because I like eating those, the whole pod. And that's what sugar snap pea is. They're the kind that you buy in the store where you just eat the whole pod and peas and all. So you don't want them to get overripe because then you'll have a really starchy pea instead of a sugary pea. But this is a good one, sugar snap peas. The other one I might grow are snow peas. I don't grow shelling peas because I do not have the patience to sit there and shell peas to get my fresh individual peas. I just buy them frozen from the store. Highly nutritious, by the way. Frozen vegetables have almost as much nutrition as fresh from the garden or from the farm. Moving on, a mix of beets. This one I would definitely grow again. And this is one that is botanical interest. That's another place that I like to get seeds. And just so you know, I don't get paid by any of these people. This is all completely volunteer. So I'm not getting paid endorsements. These are all just my own opinions. Botanical interest is another good one. For me, I like growing a variety of beets. But again, here's another opportunity where you don't have to buy 5 different beet packets. You can buy 1 mixed beet packets and grow a bunch of different type of beets. You may get a lot of one kind and not so much of another, but that's kind of the way it goes with those. So this was another new one last year. I think I might have even planted it on the show last year. And this is a Mizuna, a Benny Haushi, not sure again if I said that right. But it was really prolific, and we enjoyed using this again in salads. It was a little bit like a purple dandelion green in a sense. A little bit tough if you let it get too big. So harvest it when it's younger, and you'll probably enjoy some of that in your salads. We're getting close to the end of the March before we move on to the next part. Again, another blend, Easter egg blend. Radishes, and you can get a bunch of different types of radishes. If you're not a huge radish fan, you might try like Pink Beauty radish. That one is not quite so mild, and I think it's one of the types of radish in this blend. Oh, and more beets. So that's it for our March section. Let's see what April has. Okay, just a reminder as we're going through these, the month that they are in maybe the month that I'm planting them indoors or outdoors. So that's one thing to be aware of, is just because, for example, obviously January, February, that's all being planted indoors. March, that's mostly all being planted indoors as well, and then being transplanted outside. So speaking of which, lettuce, this is a May Queen lettuce. And as the name implies, really shines in May. But I'll start it in April. But this is a butterhead lettuce, and it gets sort of a tinge of a reddish color on it. But this one is one of those that I've been growing for a long time. I was really bummed when it wasn't available one year when I wanted to buy it and I couldn't find it anywhere. So now I'll make sure I have it on hand. And it makes this beautiful spring butter crunch type lettuce. Very sweet leaves, very soft and creamy. It's a wonderful little lettuce, and as the name implies, great in May. So here's another free seed packet. This is amarillo carrot, and if you speak Spanish, then you know that means a yellow carrot. And this is one that I tried to grow last year. I have to tell you, carrots are one of those things that I struggle with getting planted apparently at the right time, or to get them germinated in time for fall. I've definitely got to plant things for fall earlier. But if anybody has any great carrot planting tips, please let me know, because I struggle with them. So I didn't get any yellow carrots to come up. Cinnamon basil, another free packet that I got, that I did enjoy. The cinnamon basil, another great one. But who doesn't love basil? I love it. Here's another couple of types of carrots. Muscade, sort of a shorter type of carrot. I was trying for some a little bit stockier varieties. I like the long, thin carrots, but I'm growing in raised beds, so I was trying to try some stockier type carrots that would possibly grow better in a shallower soil. And then this Carol carrot as well is another one that I was trying. But as I mentioned, last year I didn't have a great job. I didn't have great luck getting my carrots to germinate. Again, black nebula carrot. I don't know if you've ever tried these like black carrots. They're worse than beets as far as staining your fingers. They're that black. But they're good and they're really, really interesting. Another way to get different types of nutrients into your diet is, eating those different types, different colored carrots. Now we have some ornamental kale. I don't know how this got in my April thing because this is actually for the fall. So that will have to be refiled in the fall. But this is one of those kales that would overwinter, and I actually have some that did overwinter, and they're starting to bolt right now, which is really interesting. Here's one that's called Four Seasons lettuce, and that's what it says in French, but my French is absolutely horrible, so I'm not going to try and pronounce the French, but that's what it is, and it's meant to be a lettuce that grows well in all seasons, and I had pretty good luck with it last year, so I'd probably grow that one again. This was my first year growing, or successfully growing, I should say, the Mexican sour gherkin cucumber. This is not your true type of cucumber that you're used to. It's also known as mouse melon, and there's something else that is called as well. But they're basically like tiny little cucumbers that look like watermelons, and they have this beautiful striping on them. I would definitely grow these over and over again. They're a little bit tricky to get started though, so you have to be patient and grow more than you think you'll actually want, because not all of mine made it. So grow a couple extra in case a couple of them die off. They're pretty slow to get started, but once they start growing, they have these beautiful vines that covered my trellis and put out tons of these tiny little cucumber melon type things, and we really enjoyed these last year, so I'll be growing them again. I tried to pickle them. It did not work out well, so I'm either going to have to do like a fresh pickle or not pickle them because it didn't work out so well. They were soft and mushy, and it was pretty gross. So I can't recommend them for pickling, at least not one where you can them, but I bet they'd be good with a fresh pickle. We'll give that a try. And then I haven't actually tried to grow this one yet, but I think this is another free seed packet of cosmic purple carrot, another type of carrot. Apparently I'm obsessed with carrots, probably because I can't grow them. But this year we're going to grow some carrots and succeed. Oh, okay. That was April. Let's see what we have for May. When it comes to May, that's when I start planting things that are really starting to get to be for the warmer season, and I start doing more direct seeding. So what direct seeding is means I'm not going to transplant it. It means I will plant the seed directly where it's going to grow. Now, not all of these are going to be direct seed, but some of them will, such as beans. So this is Cantare. It's a green bean that I've grown for a couple of years, and I really like it. It's kind of a smaller size green bean, but it lasts well on the vine. And again, if you keep them picked, on the bush, this is a bush type bean. If you keep them picked, they'll just keep producing beans. And it's just a lovely little green bean. It'll last for a while without the seeds getting too big. So that is a good one to give a try. More Mexican sour gherkins. Apparently have them in more than one spot. Now this is one of my favorites. This is zucchini rampicante. Rampicante, what does that sound like? Rampant, yes. This thing is a zucchini, but not like your traditional zucchini that you grow that's a bush plant. This one is vining, but it's awesome. I love this zucchini. It grows pretty long. This on this packet is showing a mature version, but you can use it either as a summer squash like traditional zucchini or as a winter squash. The thing I really love about this is even if you let it go a little bit too long on the vine, the whole neck of the zucchini is without seeds. So You might lose this part here because the seeds are starting to develop in there, but you still have this whole neck of the zucchini that you can use without really losing any quality. The other lovely thing about it is that it's not as watery as your traditional zucchini. So I absolutely love this. I've also grown it by accident to the mature state where you can use it where it's kind of like butternut squash or something like that. And that worked really well too. Although really the fresh sort of summer zucchini, green zucchini stage is my favorite for this. I also dried it. Again, this neck dries really nicely. I sliced it up, put it in the food dryer, dehydrator, and I've been using it for soups for over a year. Toss it in the soup and it stays, it reconstitutes, the water comes back in, and it stays a pretty solid, not solid as in hard, but it doesn't disintegrate into the soup. It's a fantastic zucchini, in my opinion. The one thing about this is you'll definitely want to trellis it, and you have to kind of help guide it up, but I have a much better success. It's not success. I just like the product of the quality of the produce better when it's sort of hanging and as opposed to being growing on the ground. So that's your choice. So you could do it without, but I recommend trellising this. And so that's zucchini rampicante. Love it. Last year I tried growing a couple different varieties of watermelon. I have grown watermelon before with success. There was this one, I think it's called Cream of Saskatchewan, that is a small white watermelon that grew very well. Last year I tried a Royal Golden watermelon and Yamato Cream watermelon. And I didn't have too much luck with either of them, but I think it's because of where I planted it. I planted them in a place where they didn't get as much sunshine as they possibly could have, and it wasn't right by the drip hose, so they might have been a little bit too dry for what they really would have been optimal for them. So I would give these ones a try again and see if they really don't like to grow here or if I just didn't do it well last year. Now this is one of my favorite things to grow. This is the Red Swan green bean, but it's not green. So it has these beautiful pink flowers, and the bean is actually pink to reddish color. Couple of things. These ones you definitely don't want them to stay on the vine, on the bush too long, because they will develop seeds in them relatively quickly. But it's pretty easy to find them because they're red or pink on a green vine. So that's one of the major pluses. Also, if you want to amaze your kids, this, or frankly anybody, I amaze adults with this, but they are like this reddish color when they're raw when you pick them. When you cook them, they turn green. So it's pretty cool. This is like a magic trick, and I love growing this one. It's not my absolute favorite for flavor, but it's hard to beat finding it easily on the bush, being the different color, and just the cool factor of a red green bean that turns green once you cook it. This is a new cucumber that I tried last year. It's called Dragon's Egg, and it's basically a white to yellowish colored cucumber. And again, this is one that I would recommend. It's small, and I don't know what else to say about it. It tasted good. It grew fairly well here and put out quite a bit of cucumbers. And they're white, and the skin, you don't have to peel them, I believe, because their skin is pretty thin, and there's really no bitterness with this cucumber. So it's a pretty solid cucumber.